Wow, it doesn't look good, huh? Could be worse. So, yeah, busy last 2 weeks racing. You probably saw the last video about how the MKE Real Street Takeover race went. I made it to the third round. Was super happy with it. Bike was running really good. There was something I had noticed though previously going to that race, and I think it's what I just found now. So we were just racing on Sunday at the Midwest Cash Days 2 at US 41 Dragway in Morocco, Indiana. It was a really cool event. It was on a Sunday, so we were going to be tight for time because there's a curfew at the track for Sunday night. And it was a double elimination race, and there was a lot of vehicles there. And we just ran out of time. We didn't get to complete the event. There was a couple delays through, nobody's fault, just, racing incidents, stuff happens. Unfortunately, the event didn't finish. I was still in the winner's bracket going into the final round. So I had three wins, whatever, 0 losses. So if you're not familiar with a double elimination race, some of you are, some of you aren't. I'll break it down quick. Everybody starts out on the winner's side of the ladder. First round losers all go into a loser's ladder, and the winner's ladder keeps taking the losers out and putting them into the loser's ladder. You whittle your way down. Everybody has to lose twice. So the winners whittle their way down till one winner will have 0 losses. Everybody else gets bumped over into the loser's bracket. So everybody over there has got 1 or 2 losses depending on what round you're in. But eventually they will break that, or that'll whittle its way down to one racer will be the winner of the loser's bracket, will have 1 loss. Now that racer will have to race the winner of the winner's bracket. But if the winner of the winner's bracket beats the winner of the loser's bracket one time, race is over because he just gave that guy his second loss. If the winner of the loser's bracket beats the winner of the winner's bracket, they each have 1 loss. You got to lose twice to lose the event. So they were going to have to race a second time. So that's just kind of how a double elimination race works. Unfortunately, we didn't get that far, but I was still in the winner's bracket going to the final. Money all got split. I won a pretty good chunk, which I'm super happy about because I need some money at this point. Hell of a year. But anyways, the bike made actually killer frickin' passes. There's no easy draws at these events. This was an invite only too, so it's all fast guys. The bike was running really good, but there was a quirk, and I was living in denial, but the bottom line was that between the MKE race and this race, the bike was still functional. I was not tearing anything open to find a problem that I couldn't have back together before the Cash Days race. It was a $200 entry. I'd entered a while back. I was racing this event, whether this thing had 1 cylinder and 1 speed or something, whatever. But what I was hearing, well, let's start back to, remember in one of the previous 2 videos, I think it was, I said we were having bad injector problem. I think I figured out what cylinder it was because I had 1 spark plug that had an end electrode nipped. I think that got lean and got hot, burnt the end of that plug off. That was a number 2 cylinder. Since then, that cylinder has pumped a little bit low on compression compared to the other 3, and the leak down was a little bit off. And I thought I had heard something. We were just going to look the other way on it. This time at the track Sunday, I heard something. I almost positively thought I kind of knew what it was. I'd start the bike up. As soon as you'd give it some throttle, bringing the RPMs up, I could hear a chirp on the left-hand side of the motor somewhere. And it sounded like an exhaust leak or something kind of going on. But basically what it was is I broke this thing down yesterday, or whatever date. This is Tuesday. We raced Sunday. I was off Monday. I broke this down yesterday to just kind of do a post-race check over on it, and was doing a compression test again and saw the same results. Number 2 cylinder was 30 psi lower than the rest, and then on the leak down it was it's probably about 30% lower than the other 3. Number 1, 3 and 4 all test fine, really good. Number 2, I could hear air leaking out of the coolant passages on the back side of the motor. So I'm pretty sure that I hurt that head gasket previously or prior to the MKE race. It was probably happened on one of the last passes I made with the bad injectors when the thing was just nosing over dead lean towards the top of a run where things are getting hot. So, like this motor takes a half hour to get out of the bike, and I can do a head gasket in an evening. So it's it's Tuesday evening. I figured I want to pull it apart. I have a head gasket, and I'm praying, and I'm pretty confident also that it's going to just be the head gasket. I feel like it was worse than that. Like if I would have like torched between cylinders or really messed up a block or something, or bottom of the cylinder head, it would have been not running as good as it did because it still made some fucking rips. But the head gasket is not pushing out anywhere on the perimeter, and it's not leaking anything between cylinders, which is good. So I'm hoping I just maybe nip the gasket just a little bit over to one of the coolant passages, and for it to leak that little bit, I'm hoping that that's all we're dealing with. But we'll know when we get it apart. Right now I just drained the oil and got the pan off of it. Oil pan, actually, my Mutt cases still holding up. No debris in the oil pan. So that's good. So if we just need a head gasket, we're putting it back together and we're going to run it. But yeah, this is kind of the price you pay for kind of living in denial on certain things. On the data in your gut tells you one thing, but you just you're out of time to do anything about it. You're pre-entered in a race. You're gonna go a couple rounds, or you're gonna go back in the trailer real fast. So for now, I'm gonna get the motor out of the bike and get it on the bench, get the head off, and we'll see what we're dealing with. I'm not gonna film much of that. You guys have seen me. This motor's been in on this bike 75 times on this channel. I don't think I want to bore you with that, unless you want to see more slow motion or time lapse stuff. I mean, time lapse musical video stuff if you want. But for time constraints of a weekday night and me wanting to get this thing apart, we're not going to put it back together tonight. We're just going to diagnose, see what we're dealing with. For now, we're just going to get it apart, and then I'll update you guys real quick when we see what we're dealing with. Well, this is what I found, and it's kind of what I was hoping to or kind of expecting to find. But my number 2 cylinder, motor's backwards, this is number 2. On this back side here, see it's a little bit darker in there. A little bit of hot air moving through that little bit of material there. That's the top layer. Then the middle layer, you can actually see it's actually pushed out to the bottom. So air, or combustion pressure, was definitely coming from the top side coming through the first layer, sort of burning that layer away, and then kind of blowing down on that. It was probably the whistle I was hearing, honestly. It was probably this gasket making like a little whistle. And then even the bottom layer of the gasket was actually pushed out a little bit. So my diagnosis here is that this is a cylinder that I feel had the bad injector that also had that torched spark plug in. I think this just got extra hot and started to kind of nip away at the gasket here. And we just had some hot air flowing through there, and it was coming out this hole. And then I was hearing it come out the back side of the block. I could put my hand over here and I could hear the air coming out, or the leak down tester pressure. But what I'm going to do is go through. I kind of already checked this for flatness and everything seems good. I can't get a 2 thou feeler gauge under my straight edge. So I kind of went across both ways, went across that way, across this way, just kind of every which way I could go. And I can't get a 2 thou under there. And it kind of checks the same all the way around. Everything seems to be pretty flat yet. The head I'm going to check now, but the head, everything looks really good. So this would be this cylinder here. So it was back up in here where it was getting a little warm. But I think we're going to be okay. There's no major damage. We're just going to double check for flatness. And I got a new head gasket there. I think it's kind of early yet tonight. We got 7:30 yet. I think my goal for tonight is going to be double check everything. There's minimal cleanup to do. And head gasket, we'll get this retorqued. Maybe we'll get the cams back in. And maybe get this thing ready to just go back in the bike tomorrow. Like I said, this motor, I'm not looking to destroy everything, but hopefully it's kind of on its last leg of being my number 1 motor. And I picked up a crank that's in that box under my gas tank over there. I got a new crank this weekend that I finally picked up. I think I'd mentioned that. I got cases, and with my winnings, I might be able to get a set of rods and some pistons or something coming for that combo. But we're going to make sure it's good. I'm not just going to, super hack this together. I'm a hack, but we're not going to super hack it. Make sure it's a good solid motor I can maybe finish out the year with. But looks like we're going to be just doing a head gasket. Not too shabby for a night's work. I do not have the turbo kit back on yet. Plenum and stuff, throttle bodies, that's all good to go. I don't have the header and the turbo and stuff hanging yet. I did order new exhaust gaskets. I noticed one of them was probably leaking a little bit. You can just see a little bit of like exhaust residue around one of the spigots for the turbo header. But other than that, I think we are good to go to wrap this thing up. Probably get it fired up tomorrow night. We'll do a little warm-up session. I'll do another leak down on it, and we'll see if that new head gasket was the solution to our problem. Which I think it was. Like I said, I'm convinced that one cylinder, with the injector issues I was having, and the way it was nosing over, and like I said, if it had enough heat in there to nip off the end of a spark plug electrode, that I don't doubt that it had enough to kind of get at that gasket and just aggravate it a little bit. And you can see where I was losing, some combustion energy was going out that coolant passage. So we'll see. Got nothing to lose, right? Season's almost over, and we're just going to go out and try to do some test passes and see if we can't maybe go a new best or a new mile an hour best or something. Have some fun with it. Lots of good weather left yet. So that's it for this one. Hopefully I can get another video put together with maybe some race footage from the past weekend's race. I got an APB out for footage. Anybody got it? I was on my own, and they were running us quick to try to get everything done, so I had no time to film anything. It was, make a pass, get the bike turned around, and they were calling us back up that quick. So if I can get some good footage kind of wrangled together, I'll try to put a video up for that last event, because it was pretty fun. But for now, we're going back together. So we'll see you in the next one.